Hello and welcome to the Foxcatcher Preview Racing Show. My name's Julian Balance, joined up in Sydney as always by Nick Ashman. How are we, my friend?
I'm good. It's the third day, the final day of the Randwick Carnival. It's actually the end of the Autumn Carnival here in Sydney. So we've got what's traditionally a pretty tricky day, all-age stakes day. There's a lot of horses turning up in these races that perhaps had previous targets. The big question as a form student is looking at the race shapes of their runs coming into this final day of the carnival and deciphering whether or not they've still got enough petrol in their legs to get one more win on the board.
It's a really good point for the punters out there, and you see it a lot in spring, obviously in Melbourne as well. That last meeting, these horses will fall off the cliff really quickly, and you do not know sort of going in whether they're going to. They might bring the right form line, but if it's fifth run, sixth run prep, or not the right race shape, they'll fall out the back of the TV. And that's where you've got to try and make the decision, okay, no, I want the horses on the up who are still probably going to progress to their peak rating for the prep. So it's a tricky day, but I'm sure you'll have us covered, mate. Let's get to the intel because this is going to be the third week in a row we've been at Randwick. I know it's a soft 7 at the moment, but you've got beautiful drying conditions up in Sydney. What's the rail doing and where do we think this track lands?
So the rail goes out another 3 metres to the 6 metre position. And we've spoken about this before. Quite often it'll be on speed at Randwick when the rail's out 6 metres, very much leader-dominated type of races. But because we're on the third day of the carnival, the intel that we got given on Wednesday was that lanes 3 to 9 is actually better. There's a little bit of wear and tear in those first couple of lanes just from that traffic over the last couple of weeks. So we're looking at lanes 3 to 9. We're looking at horses that can stalk the speed. I think probably obviously race shape permitting, but you want to be in that first 6 or 7 in running. I'll leave that with you, Jules. That's the intel for Randwick. We'll see how it pans out.
Beautiful. Obviously, the Victorian meeting this week, it's another meeting going to a regional area. It's not a standalone. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I think Kerrang's got a meeting as well and some other joint. True position, the entire circuit for Mornington Cup Day will be a good 4. Look, in terms of the intel, I think pretty even. I'm going to give leaders plus just because it is drying conditions. What I will say is I think worse than midfield is a low percentage play. I think you want to be forward of midfield, especially early doors and even late as this track continues to dry out. But as I said, somewhat even, worse than midfield, low percentage play, and maybe just give the leaders a little bit of a bonus because if it is dry, we saw at Bendigo last week, I think 7 of the 10 leaders won. So these dry tracks in these regional areas seem to kick on. But let's just have a look at lanes 1 and 2, see if they chop out as well as the day goes on. That's the intel for Randwick and Mornington. All right, Nico, Group 1 set the last couple of weeks has been really fat, plenty of races. We just have the 2 this week at Randwick, but we're going to kick off with the 2-year-olds over 1,600 metres. It's the Champagne Stakes. And we sort of bring a few different form lines here, which usually you just follow Golden Slipper into Produce and there you find sort of your favourite for the Champagne. It's not going to be the case this year. Nepotism is our favourite, as you can see from the market. Then Within the Law has been well supported since market sort of went up Wednesday. Then we get out to those horses that have sort of ran in the slipper. What do we make of this race? Because it's a bit of a test for these 2-year-olds to get to this distance. It'll be them at this distance for the first time. Do we want the progressive horses that we haven't seen that much? Or are you happy to sort of trust the slipper and the Produce form lines, even though, as you've been saying all along, those form lines are a little bit junky?
They are, and that's the query. You can fall into the trap of looking at historical figures, which suggest that the size Produce is the best lead up to the Champagne Stakes, of course. But we are dealing with a weaker bunch of 2-year-olds than what normally would front up. So what I want to look at here, Jules, I think it's key to look at is the setup coming into the mile. Quite often this is the first time these horses have tackled 1,600 metres. So we talk about the size. Now, it was a fast run race, so I'm happy to back a horse like Buffalo coming out of the size because he's had that fast run 1,400 metres under the belt. His last 200 metres was pretty much bang on average or bang on standard time for the last 200. And I think that means that he was able to absorb the 1,400 metre hot tempo, and that augurs well, I think, for him going up to a mile. So he gets a little tick there. We look then at the Ballieu, which was won by, of course, Nepotism. He was coming off that good third behind Tentress and Woderton in, I think, the top minute was. He won a slowly run Ballieu over 1,400 metres. So those horses coming through straight from the Ballieu there's really no indication that they're going to handle the mile. There's no knock on them. His last 200 metres was good enough, nepotism, but there was nothing there to say that they really desperately have ticked that sort of mile box by running in a strong 1400. The one that I think can cause a ball over here possibly is looking at the races that is on the 7-day back up the Fernhill. Now, it's a bit like the Adrian Knox into the Oaks, which ultimately didn't prove to be the best guide, but it was a slowly run Fernhill 7 days ago, mate, and it's an ideal lead-up run for a horse that can run a mile. But you have to do your sectional analysis and make sure, because that was no guide as to whether or not they could run a mile. I'm looking for a horse that was out the back, that was in the market, that didn't figure in the finish. And the one that pops up is Michelangelo, and he's $26. He was heavily backed 7 days ago in the Fernhill. The race pace was 15 lengths below standard. He's a big, raw, Dumbo type of horse. He just didn't find the line in that slick manner that you needed to win that race. He gets a couple of front runners here up on top of the speed. Bella Zane coming through for Team Waterhouse and the horse that led the Fernhill last week. Gets a set of blinkers on for the first time. We're talking about a grand final, and who trains him? The ultimate grand final trainer, Chris Waller. So $26, I think he's a play.
And you think that there will be genuine speed in this race? I know these horses are getting to 1,600 metres for the first time, but you think there's enough to generate this speed?
I don't know for sure, but I think it'll be it can't be slower than the Fernhill last week.
Yeah.
And I think with Bella Zane in front, look, Bella Zane will probably try and do what Wager did for Waterhouse 20 years ago. And Wager was not a mile horse, and it got beaten by its stablemate. I can't remember now, but it went out and led. And it'll try and go as slow as possible. But Spicy Lou's up there as well. And then you've got Lady Pankhurst, who might cause a bit of a drama. And then, look, there's other horses in this race that'll go, well, we just can't hand up a soft lead. We can't win if they go too slow. So you might see something push forward here. Don't forget Buffalo. Yeah, look, he wasn't on speed in the size produce. I think he settled, just having a look now, he was back towards the tail of the field. But the race pace that they were going there was very quick, and that might enable him over a mile to settle a lot handier in the run.
All right, beautiful. Good push there from Nick Ashman for a horse in the Champagne Stakes. Let's get to the second Group 1. It is the All-Age Stakes. And this is a very interesting affair, I think. So you've got Briasa, who is the favourite, who was a big drifter in the TJ but got the job done. Then you've got the 3-year-old Broadsiding, who after doing what it did against the 3-year-olds decided they'd pull up stumps a little bit and then have another go. Jimmy Star is involved as well, and it doesn't end there. You've got other horses at double figures like Magic Time, who won this race last year. So it's got some depth to it, Nico, without being a absolute brilliant all-age stakes. How do we set this one up? Because you've got horses coming out of the TJ. Are we 100% sold that Briasa is going to be a 400-metre monster, or is 1,200 metres going to be this horse's best asset?
I think with Briasa, the only time he's gone beyond 1,200 was at 1,300 metres at the back end of last preparation up at Newcastle. He won that race. His sectionals late were okay without being great. Certainly I wouldn't pot him and say he can't run 1,400 metres. The race pace on that occasion was genuine without it being over the top. I think with a horse like Belclair, Belclair's inclusion in this race is probably the worst news for Briasa fans because she only knows one way, and that's handlebars down to go hard in front. Go and have a look at a recent trial. Go and look at the stable, Bjorn Baker. There's no stable going better in Australia over the last 90 days. I have not seen a run like this ever in my time in racing. He is training up over 30% now over 3 months. Return on investment through the roof. She's going to go to the front. It's a tricky start point, the 1,400 at Randwick. She's going to lead. She's going to go at good fractions in front. You're going to need a horse that can definitely run 1,400 metres. So Broadsiding gets that tick. But just can he come back from 2,000 metres? The good news for the All Blue fans is that it was a very soft run, Rosehill Guineas, and he was only third up into it. So you would like to think that he's got enough freshness in his legs to come back to the 1,400 metres. I think a horse like Jimmy Star, I mean, we've got the changing of the guard. You and I spoke about this, didn't we? It's you fall into the trap of thinking these aren't Group 1 weight for age sprinters, but they kind of are now. This is them. This is what we've got.
This is what we've got.
It seems like a bit of a lull for us, and it might be. But we've got to give these short horses a chance to run and run time before we put the pen through them as WFA horses. Jimmy Star's done nothing wrong. He won first up in fast time. His second up run against the pattern at Moonee Valley was full of hidden merit. His third up run in the TJ was full of hidden merit. He ran the best late sectionals of the race. What more does a horse have to do? And he's proven at 1,400 metres. For mine, he's a great each-way bet in this. He just needs a touch of luck at the right time, and he should finish top 3.
Beautiful. That's the Group 1 set for Randwick this week, punters. Righto, Nico, let's keep rolling with you here, mates. Your New South Wales set. I think you've got 3 for us. And the good thing for the punters out there that are listening right now, these 3 are all juicy and they've all got double figures attached to their name. So kick us off. I know you've sort of spoken a little bit about what you liked in the Champagne. Well, I think that's the first one that comes up in the racebook order.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate with Michelangelo in the Champagne. Everything says he's a miler. In the Baillieu, he ran good late splits and kept on finding the line over 1,400 metres in a soft run race. Then he went to the Fernhill. That was just ridiculously run. The key point to take out of that, he was off the map. He was $3.20 favourite. The market expected him to do something. There was excuses for why he didn't. So we say, yes, he's ready to be backed again. He turns up in a race with no stars in it. The horses coming through the size, the slipper, whatever you want over those shorter distances, just aren't smashing the clock. That's a fact. Here he gets a set of blinkers on for the first time. If there's a bit of pace, look out. Let's move on to race 9. Right down the bottom, Cold Crusher. He was beaten comprehensively by General Salute in the Star Kingdom Stakes. But Jules, go and watch the replay. He was chopped out at about the 300-metre mark and just never got going again. He's a sort of a horse that he doesn't have a turn of foot. He's got to idle on top of the speed and sort of run them into the ground. He didn't get to do that day. And when those types of horses get chopped out halfway up the straight, they always look worse than what they really are. Blinkers go back on. He meets General Salute 8.5 kilos better at the weights. That's a big turnaround. He's got an outside gate, so if he's a bit sluggish away, he can take his time. He'll be up there on top of the speed, and he'll give you a great sight. He's got some good figures over 1,200 metres historically. And then I want to take you to the last race, and this is a real spec bet, but it's a really interesting horse. Number 8, Straight Acer, resumes for Johnny O'Shea and Tommy Charlton here. Obviously, ex-Anthony Cummings, he's got a few dramas going on, so this horse is just parked across the road in Johnny's stable. Hasn't raced for 98 days, but first up has got some good form for a race like this. This we're talking now is a benchmark 100 race, Jules. Last time in, he resumed in a $1.5 million Alan Brown Stakes behind Hit a Shot, Gringotts and Waterford. Was only beaten 3 lengths when finishing out of the placings behind those horses. They're very good horses. Prep before that, beaten just under 4 lengths by King of Sparta in a Group 2 weight for age race. Cold Crusher was second in that race, if you don't mind. Prep before that, he wins at Hawkesbury, and Prep before that was his debut run, where he finished this close to Legio 10, who was going well at the time. He's a pretty good fresh horse. They've tinkered with his gear. He's looked good in trials. He's resuming on his home track, and he's nicely placed with Zach Lloyd and gets a good map on Saturday. That's my 3 best bets. They're all over $10. Do your best.
Absolutely. And there's some high energy in the voice as well, which really gets the punters frothing from the mouth. So very good. That's Nick's New South Wales set. Let's get to my set in Victoria, and we are playing at Mornington, as we said, from the track intel. And this is, I suppose, the beginning of this is I talk about tracks that you want to really lean into, and I was happy last week to have 10 bets at Bendigo because I really lean into that track and I can trust it. This week, I'm really coming back with my bets, still backing them as big as I can to win the same amount, but there just won't be as many because I don't have as much trust in Mornington as I do with, say, a Caulfield Dry Deck or a track like Bendigo. So let's kick off. Race 6, I want to back these 2 horses. First one is Thames. Outstanding last start. Now, it runs second to a horse that we were talking about, I think, 2 weeks ago, Nico, on our review show. Her name was that we got beaten by was a horse called Soft Love. Massive opinion of her. This horse ran second, looped him. I thought it was an outstanding performance. What I love here is drawn gate 4 or 5, so it can settle a lot closer than what it did last start. I hope this horse settles actually, to be honest, in the 1-1, maybe 1 pair further back. I think if it does, it's going to be hard to beat. In the same race, I want to back this horse each way because it's probably just about my best because I just love this horse. And I love it off the fact that before it went to a break, it went to Moonee Valley. It did have the blinkers on. The blinkers are off for this start, but the blinkers are on. And it went as high a number as I've got it going. It's called Rocking at Midnight. First up, I thought it was really good, and it was more or less just screaming, I'm ready, I'm ready. Now, it's drawn wide here. That's the knock, and it's trained by Seawaller. So does that mean they're going to go back because they might not be ready yet? I just hope that it is ready and they roll forward because I reckon there's a spot outside leader for it. If they do that, I think it is a cracking bet at $11, $3.20 the play. It's going to back it hard each way, especially the play. So they're the 2 bets in race 6. And then race 8 in the Mornington Cup. You win this, you get into the Caulfield Cup. I'm with a horse called Night Endeavour each way. So it was an import, French horse, very good, won a listed race over 2,400 metres, which is the same distance as his Mornington Cup as a 3-year-old in France. And then came to Australia and had that first prep where not everything went right. I'd say it probably wasn't acclimatised without knowing any intel. It had 3 or 4 runs. It was pretty tight in the market on a few of these. It just didn't work out for it. Tipped it out. And then first up, it showed, I think, the ability like what it had in France. I thought it was really good behind Torrenzino and Fujita San. And now I think it gets to 2,400. It's down on 54 kilos. I think it's going to run a great race for us, Night Endeavour. In that cup, which is quite an even contest, I'm happy to play in that space. So 3 bets, 2 races. That's Mornington. That's my set. Right, the snaps or don't snap. So as we say always, we think that these horses will either drift or firm. So you do what you want to do to get more money in your pocket, punters. In race 6, this is a horse that I think has a huge rap on it. I just don't have the big numbers on it like maybe others do. It's called Vestas. $3.20 at the moment. I'm just happy that I think at some stage you're going to get a better price than this. I know it's a bit of a talking horse and it's got big hype on it and it does have some flashing runs, but I just don't have a gutsy figure in it that I want to be taking that kind of price in a race like this that I think's got plenty of depth. So Vestas, as I said, this horse can definitely win the race. I just think you're going to get better than that price that is an offer at the moment. You're snapping to begin with, my friend. A horse that we've spoken about a lot this whole show.
Yeah, Michelangelo. I just think that $26, go and grab it. I reckon you'll start $14, $15 around that kind of mark. So I think, percentage-wise, you're probably looking at about 3% of overs. But I still think that's worth snapping up right now. And then the other one I want to talk to you about is Swift Falcon in race 3. I put him on the list. I don't have a hugely firm opinion, but I just thought a lot of people out there probably looking at him as an anchor multi for the day, final day of the carnival. He's odds on currently. My thoughts on him is that he's already had a couple of grand finals, whether they were the Rosehill, Randwick Guineas and his last run. But how many more times can you butter up and back this horse that lacks gate speed and lacks the ability to put himself in the race, Jules?
This is the thing I think, and you spoke about this at the start of the show, is that this is the one that can fall off the cliff. And if you're taking $1.85 or $1.90 about Swift Falcon, you need as a punter out there, yes, we know he's got the best form line in the race. Of course he does. He could be a very, very good racehorse. But we also know he's got some chinks in his armour even when he's second or third run prep. We know he gets worse than midfield. We know this track's going to continue to dry out. We know there's good horses that are going to be on speed. But the other factor is, which you mentioned as well, is he's had the grand finals before. He's now deep into the prep and he's at a distance that we don't think we're overly comfortable with him being at. And when you're taking that price, all those boxes for me need to be ticked. And this horse doesn't tick those boxes. Now, this horse could still come out and win and you go, yeah, he's the best horse in the race. He was clearly, the best bet of the day and he should have been in everyone's lock. But he doesn't tick the boxes for me. If he's $4 and you go, I'm happy to have a spec at that. I understand that he's the best horse in the race. Price sensitivity is king for a horse like this Swift Falcon. And there's going to be plenty out there, as you say, that are going to launch into this horse. My belief is buyer beware.
Yeah, and look, can't touch on it enough. When you're taking these prices about a horse as well, like you just sort of semi-touched on it then, you've got to ask yourself a question as a punter. Does the price reflect this horse's ability? And then the subsequent question to that is, what are the chances of this horse running to its ability?
Yep.
So first of all, that price, yes, fair enough. $1.90 is about right for him because of his ability. He is better than these other horses at this point. But the chances of him running near his peak after all these grand finals at a distance that I'm not convinced is his best, I think is very minimal.
Yeah, and I think
he'll come out and you know what in now by 3 lengths.
He wins B10 and then goes on and wins a Brisbane Derby and then comes out.
And he just looks at us, goes like this, doesn't he? He just goes.
And then he goes, I didn't think I could run 2,000. Then comes out and wins the Caulfield Cup and Melbourne Cup in the spring.
Yeah.
Like,
great, is it? Goes to Royal Ascot.
Yeah,
It's just for fun, just to really annoy us.
Yeah, how it works. That's the snaps or don't snaps. But I pinned the tail last week. We did Via Sistina, obviously in the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. You were right. You launched into her. You got all the cash there. But just in terms of pin the tail or SP, she sort of just transgressed a little bit out. She got to $1.95. You thought she'd be $1.75. I thought she'd be black at $2. So it's now 4-all, my friend. We go to the all-age stakes. We go to the favourite. The market right now at PointsBet with Briasa is $3.40. I can say I think that's a little. I couldn't get him that short. That $3.40. I'm $4.80. Now I think I'm probably pushing it a little bit too far. I probably need to push for something else in the market hard for my price to probably come into play here. But I think at some stage, Nico, that this horse has to drift, doesn't he? I mean, that's $3.40. He was a drifter in the TJ. There could have been a variety of reasons for that. And maybe 1,400 metres, maybe the market wants to gravitate towards him. But I just think at some stage, if you want to be with Briasa, you're going to get better than that $3.40 in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jules. I've gone $4.25.
Yep.
I think the three key points here is, one, I expect Jimmy Star to tighten up from that $7.50 quote. That's the first thing, because he ran better late splits than Briasa in the TJ. So, and it was a softish tempo, so there was no reason why both of them couldn't finish full pelt. The second thing is the inclusion of Belclair. I think that'll work against Briasa. And then I think probably the thing that works in his favour and stops him from drifting right out, he's 7 from 9. He's a winner.
Yeah. And
he finds a way to get it done, and he's got the ability to put himself on speed, which a lot of these just simply don't do. Sunshine in Paris, for instance, can't do it. Broadsiding, look, he can when he gets over a trip, but he might struggle coming back in distance. So he's going to have what we call the map advantage over a few rivals. So I'm comfortable with $4.25 being pretty close to the mark.
Beautiful. So $4.25 for Nick Ashman, $4.80 for me. As I said, current price points bet around that $3.40. Let's see how that evolves for Pin the Tail. Righto punters, favourite segment of the week. You know what it is. It's Daisy's declaration. He's not next to me. Daisy, where the bloody hell are you?
Yes, mate. Unfortunately, couldn't make it in today. Up here at Cathedral Lodge. So just a bit of business for me today up here.
No, it looks great where you are, mate. No doubt you'll enjoy that. But more importantly, your declarations are back. So we had Scenic Point 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was short, but paid the people. And then last week, Asfura from the Clouds in Adelaide, you took the idea that, hey, she's back, she's the best mare going around probably in Australia, and you are just continuing to pay the people.
Oh, well, yeah, we are absolutely low-level flying. We needed the easy kill last week. We got that. The Friday fill-up was fantastic. Arizona activist in the last of Geelong just to send the punters off from the weekend with some cash. And then we waited till Asfura. Arguably, we needed it after a couple of the ones that you tipped us into weren't so good, but that was a fantastic win, an easy watch in the end too, and $4.80 from our good friends at PointsBet. We paid the people.
No, nice drive-by there actually, but if you actually followed the whole day, Daisy, it doesn't all go in just one half. The second half I dominate, but anyway, that's okay. Let's just get back to you and your declarations. Well done on us for it. It was important at the time. There is no doubt that lifted the momentum in Adelaide. Let's get to this week. This week's now another key factor for you. What are we doing? What's Daisy's declaration for this week?
Yeah, that's it. We will continue the ball rolling. Headed up to Sydney this weekend. We've got race 6, number 14 in Flying Bandit. Now, this is a horse working its way through the grades. 1,400 third this prep, up to 1,800 a win, and now steps up to the 2,000 metre mark. Really liking this, and you're going to get a price as well here with our good friends, as we say, at PointsBet. So I think they've been pretty patient with this guy. They've placed him well, working through the grades, and you're sort of $3.50 the field. We'll certainly take the $8 or $9 on offer for this guy. So we are going to declare the declaration this week is race 6, number 14 in Flying Bandit. And, mate, well, you may as well take us out. What do we say when it wins?
Pay the people. Almost done, my friend. Plays of the day right now. Both of us are going each way. I'll kick us off because I think this race will land a little bit before your race. It is race 6, number 8, rocking at midnight. As I said, first up run was really good. I loved the monster performance at Moonee Valley before the prep. I think this horse can actually go places, this 3-year-old filly rocking at midnight. I want to back it each way hard. I think it's going to give us a great run. As I said, I hope they roll forward. If they roll forward, it's going to be really hard to run down. If they do go back, I don't think drop off this horse. I think third up's obviously going to be the go time, and maybe they put the blinkers back on. It might be a race that they're actually planning for this horse, but I don't want to miss the price because I think she's going to be a good one in the future.
Race 9 at Randwick for me, Jules. Cold Crusher. A couple of horses just come out, so his barrier looks even better now. I think he either leads or sits outside lead. And I reckon with that massive turnaround in the weights on General Salute, plus a big map advantage on a day where I think you're probably going to want to be a touch forward in midfield, he'll do me each way all day at $14, $15.
Beautiful Cold Crusher rocking at midnight for us too. That was the plays of the day. That's the show, mate. Well done. You've done a great job. Really enjoyed what you've done with that Sydney Carnival. You really gave the insight, especially into Rose Hill and Randwick. I think that'll continue to be evergreen content for the punters out there, that in 4 months' time or whatever, when we get to Randwick and there's certain conditions, just roll that content out and you can read, you can hear what Nick says on those tracks, because it actually is going to be your best friend when we have certain rail positions. I will see you Monday for the review of these meetings.
Yes. And we're still doing it. It's Easter Monday. No, we're still doing it.
You're in the racing game. Do you reckon you've ever had a public holiday in the racing game, mate? No,
you don't sleep. You're doing replays 24/7. So
there's a few other reasons.
Hopefully that Rose Hill information is still usable in a couple of years' time if you follow.
I'm following. That's going well too, isn't it?
Come on.
That's going well, isn't it?
Oh, how good that.
Yeah.
Been postponed again.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, I wish I could postpone my bets. Like when I put a bet on and then the rain comes, yes. I wish I could ring up and go, I just want to postpone this bet now.
Yeah. No, might be a new.
That's a debacle.
That's a new edge for a bookie, maybe. Maybe they want to do that. Allow postponed bets.
I've laid this for $1 million. I need to postpone it.
Correct.
Until it's raining.
Yes. Au revoir.
Anyway, we won't go any further. See you, mate.
Bye-bye.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.